Welcome, everybody, to the Fall Line with Chaos and Company. I'm pretty excited tonight. I know Angelo is. We have the Alpine team coach, Michael Rogan, here with us tonight. So we should have some great conversation. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for the invite, gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited you're here, and we've been starting these conversations, Michael, with a lot about just how things started, like way back when learning how to ski. And I guarantee a lot of folks I know I am interested in how and where did you learn how to ski? Was it from family? Was it lessons, or did you just throw sticks on there and head down the hill?
Well, I'm still in the process of learning.
Okay.
And as I get older, I can feel like I have to keep learning and continue to learn. Otherwise, the edge gets pretty dull pretty quick. But it was interesting. We had a snow day from school, and my mom was working, my dad was working, and one of our family friends was a school teacher, and she said, "Look, I'll take the boys with me. I'm going to go up to Wyndham and go skiing." But I'm not teaching them and I'm not babysitting them. So I'll take them with me and I'll take care of them. That way my mom could stay at work. My dad could stay at work. So we went to Wyndham, and my brother and I took a group lesson, and we took it. It was a half a day because I remember being cut loose on our own. And boy, I tell you what I remember a couple of things pretty vividly, like they were yesterday. One, I think I was probably about 9 because my brother's 2 years younger than me. And I can't imagine my mom or my dad or this school teacher allowing the two of us to roam on our own much younger than that. But at that time, I'm sure it was possible and a good thing. We got kicked out of the house when you got back from school and said, don't show back up until it gets dark. So we were left to ski afterwards. And I know that our ski instructor was a younger guy. I don't know if it was an Austrian or not, but he had an accent. And I tell this story to Franz Krickel a while ago. And he said, there were a bunch of us, but that could have been me because I felt like, I remembered the name of this guy because I hadn't heard ever in my life the name Franz. Yeah. And timeline, it works out. So for the romance, and Stu Campbell used to tell me, don't ever let the truth get in the way of a good story. So I'm going to say that Franz Krickel taught me how to ski when I was 9 years old, and my brother when he was 7. And I remember skiing parts of Wyndham Mountain. I still remember like it was yesterday. I remember going up a roof of a house. It seemed like it must have been like a snowmaking shack or some type of little, it probably was this big. I thought it was just, Mount Everest as a 9-year-old kid. And then afterwards, we were left on our own. And my brother and I kind of explored as two kids. We took to it pretty good. Franz was a good teacher, still is. He's certainly a legend in the East Coast and elsewhere. But it was at Wyndham Mountain way back when I was 9 years old. My brother was 7. We took a group lesson. We learned how to ski well enough that we could be on our own. And I can remember the teacher that took us there, Mrs. Dabson. Wow, I can't believe I remember this stuff. Mrs. Dabson, riding over the lift and looking down at us and going, "Michael, Robert, is that you two?" And we were under the lift in the trees in a little gully, all twisted up and tangled up and having a ball, as I remember it. So that was, yeah, we took lessons with Franz Krickel. That's what I'm going to say.
That is awesome. That's a that's a cool story.
Pretty special.
So how did the skiing go from there? Like through your teen years and that, was it sporadic? Was it every weekend? How did you get to the resort?
Well, my sisters, both of them, they skied a little bit. I really liked it. I enjoyed, again, back to, that generation when you were told, just go outside and play and don't come back for 5 hours. I enjoyed that part of it. I enjoyed just doing things and walking through the woods and just playing, being outside. So skiing was something that really, really, really interested me because, like now, I mean, I think it's one of the few things where you can be a kid and explore.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to. Everything seems so structured, and you shuttle and carpool to this practice and go to that practice, and it's indoors and it's in a fenced-in area. And skiing is so unique because, you get to ride a chair by yourself, and then you get to decide where to go, and you get to go here or there or whatever and get in a little bit of trouble. And then you ride the lifts at night and, hoot and holler in the shadows until you come up into where it's lit again. I mean, all of those things that I think create nice, good characters in people. Those are all things that really drew my attention. So I skied through high school. We had a ski club. Probably in high school, probably one of the biggest role models that I had was Sean Warman. I mean, he's a past team member of mine, works at Windham Mountain now, lives back in Rhinebeck, New York, where he and I grew up. But he was the older kid, so he skied, and he had the gray and the black CB jacket, and he was the cool guy, and he could do back scratchers, and he could lock his feet together and rip down a wheelchair at Windham Mountain, and just was just awesome. Yeah. And so he was a high school ski friend of mine, Frank Cartwright, who I went to high school with. He's a good name to know in the East Coast. He was in the ski club, a guy named Carl Beach, and my brother. Yeah. The kind of the four of us buddied around Windham and Hunter, and then where I started teaching skiing at Catamount. So yeah, I just like I like being outside. I like the quietness. I like the solidarity. I like the individual sport of it. I loved team sports growing up, but it was fun to go out and just be an individual.
So what caught you onto the teaching? I mean, what was like, okay, I'm going to go to Catamount and become a ski instructor?
Like a lot of people that graduate from high school that don't want to go to college, you need a job. And I had taken growing up. So in high school, growing up taking lessons, I took lessons at Catamount. I'd pick up my dad's beer cans, and that would pay for part of a private lesson, and my parents would kick it in the other part, turn in his aluminum Jenny Light cans, Jenny Cream Ale. That's going back a little ways. Yeah. But I'd turn it in his aluminum beer cans, save up some money every week, and then my parents would kick in the rest, and I would take a 1-hour private lesson at Catamount from a guy by the name of Ray Springstead, who owned the Celeron Motel right there at the corner in Claremont, New York. That's probably too much information, but I'd skied with him for an hour a week, and he did a great job from what I remember. And I kept asking him, how do I get better? How do I get better? And then he said, look, if you want to get better, you need to race. I'm like, okay, so I need to race. So I joined the Tri-State Ski League in the Kit Kat Club out of Catamount, New York, and raced and was coached by people like Frank and Shy Reeves, Deb Ryan, Jimmy Connors, Glenn Wheeler. Here's a name that is to the East Coast, Brian Dolan. I think he's the ETS member.
Yes.
In the East. So Brian Dolan was one of those people. And then after I had 1 year, I was in high school, 15, 16 years old. I had 1 year to race Tri-State and said, okay, how do I continue to get better? And Jimmy Connor said, you should come and take a Learn to Be a Ski Instructor course. I'm like, what's that? I don't know what that is. And that's when I met Brian Dolan. And Brian Dolan, who's at Windham Mountain, New York now, works with Murmur, Blakesley, and Power Learn, and is part of the ETS squad in the East Coast. He gave me my first Learn to Be a Ski Instructor course, Catamount, New York.
That's awesome. I love that. Oh my God, Brian Dolan! Wow, we're gonna have to have Brian come on now and let us know how you did in that session, and if he thought this was what was going to happen for you.
Well, so far I've knock on wood. I've been able to keep the torch lit. Brian he did a wonderful job. But everybody Catamount. I mean, I've been fortunate. I'm sure we'll get into it talking about Pico and in Portillo, Chile, and then Heavenly. Yeah. But everywhere I've been, I've met some amazing people that have been extra special in just my development. I just came across the right people at the right time. They asked me the right questions. They motivated me in the right ways. Some were jerks, but still motivated me extremely well. And my time at Catamount set the stage for all of this silliness. Thankful for it. And to Brian.
Good job, Brian.
Yeah, Brian gets the shout out, man.
So, Michael, when did you know this was going to be your life?
It's funny. I can remember my first lesson that I gave after I did my learn to be a ski instructor course. And it was just terrible. I look back on it now, and it was just horrific. I tried to teach everything that I thought that I knew about skiing through this course, and it turns out I talked about everything I didn't know. It was just horrific, and I remember it to this day. Fortunately, it was some family friends, and they had a little pity on me and took a private lesson so that I could make a little bit of money. But just within that time at Catamount, I think, Angelo, I mean, I really started. I knew I loved skiing. Took high school trips, really enjoyed that. But I found out that I really enjoyed teaching, and I didn't expect it at all. I mean, I really didn't. It was not something that I expected. But I remember that was the kind of the time after that first year at Catamount teaching, and I also remember in high school and at the ski club, I was looking through Ski Magazine, kind of ironic. Again, all these things that come full circle. I was looking at Ski Magazine, and there was an ad for Olin Skis that said, "Who are these guys?" And they were publicizing the DTSL, the Olin DTSL, the D Team Slalom Ski. It was supposed to be a user-friendly slalom ski built by instructors for people that want to get better. And the question was, who are these guys? And somewhere I still have the ad. I remember tearing it out of the magazine and taking it home and saying, "This is interesting. I want to see what this is about." But I think probably Tim Petrick was on there. Chris Ryman was probably on there. Jens Husted. It was in that era. They might have been on that ad. Maybe Sean Smith, maybe Mike Porter. I think that those were people that were in that ad. And through that first time teaching, I really started to gig on it. I really liked it. I liked interacting with people. I enjoyed the look on people's face when they figured something out and they learned something. Most of the time it was when I got out of the way versus when I got in the way. So that was it. And then it became, okay, how do I do this? How do I really do this? I was teaching skiing at Catamount. I got registered at Bel Air, potentially with Bruno Gubetta. I feel like I remember a really tall Italian sounding name guy that was really intimidating in his Don John one-piece suit by the board of examiners at that time.
I remember that when I was coming up through. Yeah. He was intimidating. Still is when I see him at examiner training. I don't mind saying that. He'll go, "Come on, Caper." And I go, No, you still are, man. I look up to him. My neck hurts looking up.
Yeah. I'm there. And then, so I can remember that with Bruno. And then I got level 2 associate certified at the time. Did that at Wyndham. Bob Shostak was there. God, who else was? I know I have the scorecards in my. I still absolutely. You betcha.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you betcha I do. But I took the exam with Paul Ebers from Catamount, and we both passed, and we were pretty excited about that. But at that point in time, I realized, okay, so this is fun teaching skiing. I like it. I'm skiing, which was great. I'm in a cool place with a lot of interesting people that growing up in Rhinebeck, I wasn't going to get exposed to. And then I said, okay, well, I don't want to work construction. I'd done that. I'd done a little bit of masonry. I wasn't a mason. I was an apprentice. So I was carrying block and mud, and it was a lot of hard work. And I figured there's got to be places in the world that you can find skiing in our summertime. And that was about the time that I moved to from Catamount to Wyndham after I got my my level 2 or associate exam at the time. That's an interesting story as well from Joe Wood. He sent me a letter that said, "Congratulations on your exam and passing. At Pico, we're interested in hiring a bunch of people, and we'd like to talk to you about a job." And I thought that he was at the exam, and he saw me, and he wrote this letter just to me personally. And it turns out it was a form letter that he sent to everybody that passed.
But, how long did it take for you to realize that, oh, that wasn't a letter just to me?
So here it is. Here's the time. When I showed up at Pico for an interview, my first job interview of my life, my father, God bless him, made me get a sport coat and a tie. I was going for a job interview. My dad worked at IBM, so that was the corporate way. And I was sitting in the Pico Lodge, waiting for Joe to show up. And here I am, just this knucklehead idiot in a sport coat and a tie, ready for my interview. I had my resume with me, just all the things that some knucklehead is supposed to do. And Joe shows up in a t-shirt and cut off shorts, a bunch of books on one arm, a cup of coffee, and a cigarette in his mouth.
I'm sick.
And he looks at me and he goes, "You must be Rogan."
And then there's dead silence, right? Dead silence for all. You're like, should I say something?
So I did, and I said yes. I'm Michael Rogan, and then I realized that the letter just went to everybody, and it wasn't. Well, there was nothing. There was a ton special about Joe Wood, but there was certainly nothing, absolutely nothing special about me.
Oh man. Oh, Joe, that is so funny. Oh man, I do have some Joe Wood stories, but we won't get into them tonight. Oh man.
God bless him. So at Pico, I was at Pico working, and that ski school, just like Catamount, was amazing. I mean, you had Bruno Gabetta, you had Chris Giuseppe, you had Roger Bush, Dave Sauce, Joe Wood, Kathy Wood, Pete Palmer, Willie Tate. Those guys were all in and out of Pico as full-time examiners. You had Emily Gregg, who's still a member of the East BOE. I mean, you had all those people that were in and out. And then Jim McKeon and Tom Barber, and in the race team, and there was just a bunch of people there. So there was a great environment, and they just came in and out and in and out and in and out. And I'd heard, because Bruno had worked in Portillo, Chile, one season. So he told me about that. And I found out that Jimmy Ackerson was the ski school director down at Bromley, where Sue Kramer now works. And Bruno gave Jimmy a call and said, "Hey, there's this kid who might work out to work in Portillo. He's a level 3. He's got took his development team exam. He passed that, and he might be a good person to have." And Jimmy was just taking over the ski school from Hartmut Helmstrike, teaches in Austria, works in Aspen. But before that was Ziggy Grottendorfer, which was the ski school director in Sugarbush. So Jimmy gave me a job interview. I went down to Bromley, the Sunshine Mountain, and took a couple of runs and got a job working in Portillo. And then I realized that you could do it year round. So take a good long draw of that there, Angelo. And that's how we got to how I figured out how to make this a year-round thing, was that I got lucky and got introduced to Portillo, Chile in 1989. And
that was the most thorough answer we have had to date on Chaos and Company.
It's awesome.
That's well done, Michael.
Well, you got to get the people in that made so much to you, that left an impression on you.
Right,
I mean, if you, I'm fortunate enough that you guys want to talk to me, so I got to be respectful enough to the people that put me in the place to be able to talk to you too. So I got to mention people like Jimmy and Stu and Emily and I mean, Betsy Keel and Barb Marshall. Barb Marshall was huge influence to me at Pico. Just about going out and just skiing. Tim Thompson and I we cut our teeth at Pico. And getting drug around by Betsy Jenkins at the time, Betsy Keel. She married a ski instructor, Woody Keel, that big high up on the list at Killington at the time, and they're out in Vail now. But mean, just those people that just, they just drug you around a little bit, and they pushed you and you pushed them, and we pushed each other, and we listened, and we got lambasted by Joe Wood. Man, I can remember getting called into his office going, with his cigarette. Yeah, I saw you standing on that hill for 10 minutes. Next time you're standing there for 10 minutes, you won't be near the parking lot for 11 because you'll be out of here. I mean, just things like that that now are just such good. I mean, you look at what is happening in teaching and learning and all of that, but yet way back when, Joe Wood, with a cigarette and a cup of coffee in his mouth, said, "Kid, you've been standing around for 3 minutes out in that big area. You better move your ass, or I'm going to move it for you out of here."
Hey, Angela, that goes right into the last couple of our podcasts to make sure we keep moving. Even Eric wanted that to happen. Don't stand so much.
And people wanting to kick us out of places.
Yeah.
Talk about full circle. Hey, Michael, I will tell you, one of my favorite things about your story so far is that you have had vast success you could say in the ski world, but I think it's larger than that. Your success is like, multi-continent. You speak multi-languages. You are involved in some of the most important things in skiing globally. It's an amazing career, life. But I think
I'm not done yet.
Oh, well, we hope not.
This isn't your eulogy, dude.
Yeah,
it's leading up to a question, I think. Maybe there's a question at the end of this. But one of my favorite things about it is that you got there. I'm going to say unconventional in the modern sense. I worked for a lot of years in public education, and we pushed young kids toward college. Like, that's the way to go. That is the answer. But it seems that you saw early on that wasn't the route you wanted to take. You wanted to do something different, and you've had this vast success. And I'm wondering how you encourage young people now to, maybe not necessarily follow what you did, but to follow what they want to do to make their life.
Well, I do. I just got earlier in the season, we got done with our new hire clinic, and I'm fortunate at Heavenly Ski Resort, to Mountain Resort, to be a part of those. Now, on the other side, learn to be a ski instructor clinics. I mean, they've changed drastically, but there were a couple of kids that were young. There was one kid from Stowe, James, and another kid from Killington Mountain School by the name of Sawyer. And these are two young kids that had moved out west. They were living the dream. So, I mean, I guess I do what people did to me. I mean, when you see them, you encourage them, you ask them how they're doing, you ask them if they need anything. I mean, there was nothing better than knowing that there was going to be a hot meal in the locker room sometimes at Catamount or at Pico. Those times have certainly changed, but yeah, you do what you can to say, you help them out with their professional career and development, and you get them to understand that, it comes from being a student of the sport and trying stuff and working. Trying to instill a work ethic. I mean, it's really easy. I mean, here in California, we just got a foot of snow, so it's really easy to go, no, I'm going to backline and go skiing. And I think you get good at certain things when you go skiing, and you get good at other things when you go teaching, and trying to keep people working. The idea that it's okay to work a full day and be tired from pizzaing and French frying, and then just being a resource, that here's a manual, or read this, or here's an article, or pay attention to that, or, I want to go somewhere else. Okay, well, look, I happen to know people in Jackson Hole or in Wintergreen or wherever it is that you want to go. And you just be available for people to help them out with the things that they could use, because people did that to you. And if that's done, if you get fortunate enough to meet those people, and I was, So hopefully I can be. Sometimes good things happen. Sometimes people love it and they go away from it and they're glad they did it for a year or so, and other people stick around it. And before you know it, you find out that even a knucklehead from Rhinebeck, New York, can do pretty good.
So I mean, as you talk about this, Michael, it was, one of the questions I wanted to ask you was, what's important to Michael Rogan? And there's so much going on with the learning connection and just being the Alpine team coach and, other stuff you have. We know you do a lot with manufacturers in Nordica and all these things for different things going on. I mean, it's just, the list goes on, the US ski team. It seems though that relationships are like your number one thing, to make sure you create relationships with folks. I mean, it seems like that's what helped bring you up through those relationships. Sure. And then now, I mean, is that the number one thing for you, or are there other things on that?
Yeah. Well, look, everybody everybody always needs a boost or a hand to pick them up. Or a hand to push them in the right spot. And if you don't have those connections with people to get a boost or get a push or a prod in the right direction, or to get a yank by the collar in the wrong direction, or a slap upside the head, if you don't have those, then you just kind of go about wandering, and wandering is good, but maybe that's what modern teaching, wandering is good because you learn stuff by yourself, but every now and again you need a shepherd to come and say, dude, you're so far off track. Or it would be really smart if you headed down that road. I'm not going to tell you where to go. I'm just going to tell you where to look. Yeah. And I think that's important. That's really important. And those are the things. That's what I'm excited that, our models, the learning connection model, those types of things, they're extremely valuable. That's generations of time and effort that's been put into where we are now. Those things don't just show up as one-offs and they're their own thing. This is where we are now is a culmination of things like the skills concept, of things like the teaching cycle. It's things like relationship building, where people skills come out of, and it's those types of little divergences or journeys that then turn into something that you don't really expect to be something that you suddenly go, wow, that's really important. And we've got 3 of them. This is what we do. There were 3 skills with Balance and Encompassing Everything. And now we have 3 kind of pillars to our, to what is the foundation or the basis of our system in the learning connection model of technical skills, of teaching and how you deal with people in a classroom, and how you do go through the mechanics of teaching a lesson, and then relationship building and interpersonal skills and emotional intelligence. That didn't come from nothing. That certainly wasn't a great idea that happened 2 terms ago or last term. This is something that's been built upon from Sue Spencer Moses, people like that have been involved in it way before, that all kind of got things moving in a direction that we take now and moved it on. And now has come the learning connection model, which is a great little format to organize your thoughts as a ski coach, to go, I need to work on these 3 areas to be a complete ski coach. If I get good at one of them, I'm good at one of them. If I get good at 2 of them, I'm a little better. If I get good at 3 of them, then I got a shot at being, I can be pretty good. I can become, instead of becoming who I am, I can be who the student needs. And then you start to shift away from my teaching and how important, I taught a great lesson, but they didn't learn anything, to let's put teaching. It's not about me or you as the teacher. The center stage should become about learning, not about teaching. We got to learn about teaching in order to get better at helping people. That's our job, is to help them. But oftentimes the teacher like I did in my first lesson, and I still do it at times, I get in the way of people learning because I'm trying to teach. And I'm worried about me teaching instead of them learning. And when I catch myself, it's usually good for a good slap upside the ass with my pole.
So what makes you wonder? What gets you going? Like this whole development and getting to the learning connections taking so long, in a good way. I mean, not bad. I just, as you're saying, how that stuff builds up. What do you think's next? You're the Alpine team coach, and what are the things that make you wonder, or maybe piss you off a little bit? We're not getting there fast enough, or what's going on in that world in your mind?
I think we're really in a good. I think we're in a good direction. This idea of understanding people skills and teaching skills. I mean, we're always going to be able to talk about technique. That's what we get off on. That's what we gig on. That's what we all enjoy, is talking about, how much A-frame I have compared to somebody else who doesn't like a picture that shows up in Ski Magazine of me, or how much, what is counter versus separation? Is it lateral balance? Is it foragonal?
He gagged a little.
We're always going to have the technique stuff. Do I ski with a longer pole or a shorter pole? I've seen, my boot stiff or soft. I mean, there's all kinds of, we'll have those forever. Yeah. But I think really the things that start to set us apart as a country and as an organization is understanding people skills and teaching skills and the difference there. And it might not seem like much right here, right now, but as this, I mean, we're a couple of years now. I am personally through work with the Alpine team and the national team. Those people think fast, man, and these conversations have been happening for quite a while. But it takes a little bit of time for something to kind of show up and come to life. So if it's been going on in the conversations that I'm honored to be a part of for 5-6 years now, we still have members that are unaware. That there's that we value your emotional intelligences and how you interact with your environment and the mechanics of teaching a lesson about communication and allowing people to play and those types of things. And it doesn't seem like a big difference right now here, because we're just building this road. But like anything that's just a little bit off, you get 1.5 miles down the road, you get a couple of years down the road. And I'm fortunate to have seen a couple of years down the road because when I was part of the conversations early on, that difference was, just the slightest bit. But now 6 years from now, there's a measurable difference, and we go another 3 or 4 years, and before you know it, it's a different exit on the freeway. And I think we're in that process. So those are kind of the things that get me going. I look at interski. Maybe here's a couple of examples that are interesting. We were, we're going to answer a couple of questions. Before our last interski in Bulgaria, or was it the one in Argentina? We got criticized pretty heavily. What is the USA doing? What's PSI doing? They're not doing anything. But we were working hard at taking a step away from or looking ahead to where things could go. Because at that point in time, it was Argentina. There was lots of talk about experiential learning. Let's go out and have experiences and we learn from them. And it became very quickly, again, it became egocentric about experiential teaching. Like, I let my people play and yeah, I asked questions and I kind of let them ski a little bit longer and I didn't talk as much. But yet the learning may or may not have been happening. And at Interskis, in Argentina, I had a broken leg, so I wasn't able to be on the hill. But you start to hear the conversations that go on afterwards, or when everybody else, all the team members are up giving their workshops, and I'm sitting in the coffee bar, and I'm sitting with next to the people that don't go out up on the hill, but it turns out that they're kind of they might be a little bit of the brain trust behind what the folks on the hill are doing. And they talk about, boy, you know what, God, we're into this experiential teaching thing. Everybody's into it. And now we find out that it's experiential learning, and maybe not experiential teaching that's as important. And I have a picture on my phone. I should find it, but of a Japanese delegate on the airplane as we're flying back, who had our brochure out and was looking at it and was circling things and putting exclamation points on this and circling other things and putting question marks on that. And then he was going back to their manual and looking for it and couldn't find it, and then went back and made some more notes. And I'm certainly, again, Stu, I'm not going to let the truth get in the way of a great story, but you could tell that there were brain activities about how we were being different, being the relationship part, being concerned about the learning. And again, I'm not gonna say that we should take anything away from the teaching. In order for somebody to learn, we need some help. But the important part is the learning, and not necessarily the teaching, because oftentimes we can in the teaching, we can stifle the learning because we're so concerned about our teaching and not as concerned about their learning. Yeah. And I appreciate seeing Angelo's head nod a little bit, because knowing his education and formal education, at least I'm on something that strikes a chord there. And then we get to Bulgaria, where we really roll these things out. And we had asked the question in Argentina, what makes a great instructor? And we got a little bit of answer. And then in Bulgaria, we brought some of that information back, and we started to talk about the differentiation between teaching and learning, and experiential teaching, experiential learning. And that then sparked more conversations. And at a place like an Interski, when you go and you see other countries' workshops, or you hear talking, and they were all about experiential teaching. And it was wonderful, because we're shifting away from, I know everything, you know nothing, so let me give you everything that I know. And we get into, let's go out and do some things, and I can help you through those. And I feel like in the States and PSIA and ASI, we did a really good job of going, wait, there's a little bit more to this, and we should be talking about experiential learning, as much as we're concerned about the mechanics of good, solid experiential teaching. That's thanks to people like Horace Abraham and Skiing Right. I mean, who doesn't have a copy of Skiing Right in their library? If you're one of the 8 people listening to this and you don't, we should. We should all have it. It's interesting, because at Interski, here's a couple of interesting ones. A guy by the name of Giusti Olivieri, the godfather of Argentine ski instruction. Just ask him; he'll tell you. He's a great man and a wonderful person. But he came up to me and he says, it's about time. It's about time the rest of the world figured you guys out. You might not have gotten all of the dues that you deserve to get based on what was important to you and what was important to us. But we're starting to come around, and now you see multiple countries giving workshops about experiential teaching. And that is because of your impetus in Sesto in 1976, with Jens Ryan and Husted, and then followed up with Porter and Sean Smith and Dave Merriam and Carol Levine and Dee Byrne and Ellen Post Foster and Nancy Oakes. And then on to, Scott Mathers and Jay Evans, and then now into Rob Sogard being the coach. And when I made it with him in 1996, and people like Murmur, who really forced those issues and kept us on track. And then people like Horst and Porter and all those people asking questions of us, so that we could then be where we are today, so that people, the team now, Ann Shorling, Heidi, Jonathan, Brian, Smitty, Josh Fogg, Dusty, we can all be successful. We can all be successful perpetuating that. And you look at other countries that say the one thing, like they'll say that they're going to change everything. If you've been paying attention, as interski was evolving this last one, there was a big to do about Austria deciding to make a shift from carving to this light skiing, lighter edge, softer, flatter skis kind of thing. And I tip my hat to them, that they made the shift, based on what their ski school directors came to them and said, our guests don't want to carve. They want to ski all day long. They want to go have lunch up there, and carving's not going to do that to get them up there and then back down here. So they want. So I tip my hat to them for doing that. That was wonderful. But it was this revelation, and I go, 20 years ago, we started chatting about this stuff. Well, more than 20 years ago. I mean, this was stuff that was important to us. So that's something that you see, and I've watched, and sometimes those are some of the things that, whether it irritates me or makes me scratch my head, but that's important. That's what gets me going. And I look at other aspects, other sports. I think our sport is tricky because it is so complex. It really is, and not that others aren't, but we move on an uneven surface, and every foot feels something different, and every ski goes through a different condition. Whereas, excuse me, I mean, golf does a great job, I think, of being very mechanical, but they also do a really good job of saying, hey, look, just figure out how to get the golf ball on the golf club on the golf ball. Just hit the ball solid and let the body figure out how to do that. And then we'll reverse engineer it and back up. And so where I look to other sports that I think have, pro sports, they got a coach for everything. And that coach is worried about the littlest detail, and they got unlimited resources. So when you start to hear a position coach in football or baseball or hockey talk about things, and then you get to hear the head coach, like a guy like Bill Belichick, just give his kind of vision. Like, we got to figure out how to not have 2-on-1s, and then the position coach figures that out, and just that interaction. That's kind of what interests me as I look at our profession. Some of the things.
Yeah. And when it comes to equipment, like, I hear how you have your equipment perfected. And I have been at Pro Jam. Look at he's got, yeah. I've been at Pro Jam, and I have, gone, maybe I should tune my skis tonight. And I'm like, nah, I'm gonna go out. I got invited to dinner. So look at him. So I'm coming out into the stairwell, and there's Michael, and I don't know whose skis, but you were working on one of the other team members' skis. All I did, I was so focused on the ski, I wasn't sure there was going to be any edge left. And I'm just watching, looking at the metal on the floor. And I'm going, I know he knows what he's doing, and man, he's trying to do something with that ski. And oh man, I'd probably destroy it. But I mean, tell us a little bit about equipment, because I know you're definitely very in tune with what's going on with your equipment.
Well, I thank you. I'm glad that you have that observation in the stairwell a long time ago, Dave.
Yeah.
By the way, it is Wednesday, and what is Wednesday, Dave?
It's hump day, hump day.
I remember Killington when that first commercial came out, and you came into the pro room and said, "Rogan, what day is it?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And then I saw
Robin had to fill you in.
I saw the commercial on TV, and I still remember that, Dave. So it was good. You know what? I really like tinkering.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I've learned a ton about it, about my equipment and my skiing, and therefore other people's skiing when it comes to equipment. And I like it because it's a variable that I can control. If I get the right tool for the right job and it's properly prepared, I don't have to worry about it. It's not something that is a concern of mine. So my skis are all about the same. I do my best to keep the base bevel somewhere between half a degree, somewhere. See, and now I'm not even being exacting, but somewhere between a half for higher performance skis, slalom skis, GS skis, a narrower ski, to about 1.5 for my big wide skis. That really doesn't matter. If you're on a wide ski and you're using them for the right job, you're having a great day no matter what, because it's soft. But sometimes you do have to get onto a groomer to get to the next piece of off groom stuff, and you want them to be work well. But my side edge is 4. I have pairs of skis that I neglect, that I haven't ever seen any tuning, but I often teach on those, and I teach a lot of beginners, which is something that is different than a lot of folks, I think. I teach a lot of beginners at Heavenly. So I can have a pair of skis that I can walk on and off the magic carpet and step on people's bindings and step on their skis and help them up if need be. But I've made, every time I talk about tuning, I make this deal with somebody every time I talk, and I say, look, if you can, in the course of normal maintenance, if you can maintain your skis, regular daily maintenance, and in the course of 2 seasons, you can tune the edge off of your ski. So most skis that we all get as consumers are 1/2 millimeter of width of edge on the base. That's pretty standard for consumer skis. There's some specialty garage brands that have a little bit of a wider one because it's powder ski and they need a little bit of that structural support when they hit rocks or trees, not to blow the edges apart. But for the most part, everything is about 1/2 centimeter. Sorry, 1/2 centimeter wide. And my deal is, my arrangement is that if you can tune the edge off of that ski in 2 seasons, I'll buy you another pair of skis. Anything you want. And my caveat is then it's got to be under normal wear and tear. And if you do, I'll buy you the next pair of skis, but your skiing will be so much better for it because you will always have a tuned ski. Versus it will just be, in order to do that, and I've tried, and it takes me 2 years, which is 4 seasons.
Oh, right.
To get through and I got to go at them. I mean, they're always sharp. It's after every 2 uses, I'm using a file or a machine. I mean, now these machines are a lot easier. There's a Swix Evo that's sold in the PSI ASI catalog that is really efficient and effective and quick and relatively clean. But that's the deal. So if you can tune it off in 2 seasons, I'll buy a new pair, and you'll be much better skier for it because your skis will always be tuned. And I like it. There's something. There's a amount of meditation when you get a good file, good European hard steel, and it pulls off
you got to show Angelo how you tune a ski with that file. Because when I came into that, and I'd had a few beers, and I walked in there, and the 2 of you were there, and I'm like, I just like stopped and was like, oh my God, they're attacking those skis.
Yeah. Well, you got to, I mean, otherwise what ends up happening is you don't cut back the sidewall, and then you don't file the edge, and you don't get to where the edge of the edge is. And you do all this work and you really done nothing. And then you compare that to, Joe Wood used to take his, and when I first got a tuning lesson from Emily Gregg, Joe Wood came out and took the file and right down the edge, 45 degree off. And then he chopped at it with a hatchet and says, that's all the grip I need. And I'm better off slipping because I don't want to grip anyway. Off he went. Never tuned a ski in his life. But I wasn't as good, but I like to be a little anal about equipment. I appreciate a ski that's well taken care of. And that responds well and does what you need, and I'm getting that way I'm starting to get that way with ski boots. But since you sent me some questions, I did bring in a pair of ski boots and some of the things that I've done in the past, and one of the things that I'm trying here in the future.
What is it?
Well, I guess the way that my boots was I had a footboard that looked like this. Well, Dave Manater in 1995 said, Michael Rogan, if you're going to make the demo team, you need to change your stance. And I didn't know what to do. So I said, okay, that's all he told me. So I started to think, what are the things that I can do to a ski boot? And I can change the boot board, the ramp angle, the delta, and I can change the forward lean. So I started to screw around and I started to put in heel lifts, just build up the boot. And I got to a point where I thought, that feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. A little more, that feels good. A little more, that feels good. A little more, nope, that's too much. Okay, so now I know I got a little bit of a ballpark range of where I belong. And then I did the same with forward lean, and I added stuff and trail maps and all those things. And I'm like, that feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. Oh, that's too far. Back it off just a little bit. And I ended up with a boot board like this thickness and forward lean of that thickness, which is, if you remember, Dave Wood, that's quite a bit. It's a fair amount. I mean, it's it's probably, it's probably half to 3/8 of an inch. Now, half to a little bit thicker than a half. What's that? 5/8? So that went in there, and it kind of did this to me because Dave said I needed to change my stance. Well, I needed an angle in my ankle that was less than 90 degrees, but I still needed range of motion so that I could have some touch. Yeah. So when I just did this, just lifted up the heel, my ankle actually opened up. So it was good. It helped. I got all kinds of range of motion, but my ankle was more than 90 degrees. So then I did this and I pushed my lower leg forward, and that was nice. I closed the ankle, but I lost range of motion. So I just figured I'd do both. And I'd take that angle and I'd kink it in my ski boot this way. And that served me well for, better part of a decade and a half. And then I started to experiment. And now I've gotten to in footboards. Really, this is really interesting to people.
Yeah. It is to me. It's our podcast, right, Angelo? I hope Angelo's liking it.
So I've gotten. Let's see if I can't put them side to side and give you a good angle. Yeah. So thickness wise, I've gone from. This is 26 millimeters. This is 22 millimeters. Yeah. So I've gone from higher up to lower down. And that never made sense to me. Sean Smith always talked about dropping the heel, and it never made sense to me because I felt like I would be in a hole and my hips would go back. So it just didn't make logical sense to me. Tells you how silly I was. Or I was just in that phase of experiment. Forward lean that was, see if I can get it there, that thick to now it's this thick.
Oh. Yeah.
So I went from here and there to now I've gone this way and that way. So I've kind of done similar things. For me at first, experimenting with it, I went, whatever pushes me forward, that's the way I need to get. Joe Wood always used to say, if you get in trouble, get in the air, jump. Yeah. If you can get your feet off the ground, you're going to have a shot at landing in balance. If you're out of balance and you can't get your feet off the ground, then you're so far out of balance that you probably don't deserve to do anything but fall. So that was in that mood of experimentation, and now over time, I've flattened my footboard by 4 millimeters, which doesn't seem like much, but it's a ton.
Yeah.
Let's see.
I think it is a ton.
There we go.
Yeah.
And it's a fair amount, and I've gotten rid of a bunch of forward lean, but I still find that I'm not quite as bent. I don't have as many kinks in my body, so I'm able to be a little bit smoother. I still have range of motion in my ankles and my legs. I feel like if I move forward, the ski really reacts well. I would say that it feels flat if I'm just standing there. I mean, would I recommend to people to experiment? Yes, experiment. Would I recommend that they go right to that? Maybe not, because it feels flat, and when the bindings they correlate. They got to come into effect a little bit. The difference between the heel and the toe of the bindings, you got to take into a little bit of account. And every time you switch a model of binding, it can change. But being able to do that experimentation it's just led me down different roads. And that's how I, just like getting started in ski teaching, it's about experimenting, and people should experiment to find their best. Their best. There was a post on some internet chat the other day that talked about, I've been to not thousands, I'm exaggerating. I've been to a bunch of boot fitters and I can't quite get the answer that I'm looking for. And I finally looked at my response was, it sounds like you are your best expert, and you need to experiment a little bit, and you need to go figure these things out. And I'm lucky. I have the ability, but I save boot parts. And the whole process started again with Dave Manader. And I took an old pair of Technica TNTs when they first came out, took all the guts out of them, and I riveted them at 90 degrees and put them on and went skiing. And I almost couldn't get off the chairlift.
Oh my God. We need video of that. Oh, man.
Well, the video camera was, I can't put my hands in the screen and show you the size of the camera. I mean, the video camera was, it was this big. Yeah.
So when it comes to the experimentation, this is one that, it's kind of one I wonder, because a lot of people have different sensations. Huh? When you do this experimentation, are you getting more feedback from your ski and that external sensation, or are you getting equal from your ski, equal from the way you feel comfortable in your body to be able to move? Is there a medium there? Is like, it's more the ski, I'm not as focused with the body feelings, or?
Well, I know what it is I want to accomplish. Yeah. First of all, I go into this process with intent. I know what my outcome is. I know what my goal is. And I know how I want the ski to react and how I want to feel within the course of a turn and within that given snow condition. And I let the sensations come back to me, and they decide. And I make little changes and try it again. And I do take notes. I'm a note taker. Sometimes it's done after the fact, but I take notes, and now I can do it on my phone. But I take notes that say, yeah, this setup felt great. Nope, this setup felt bad. Oh, it felt good here, but bad there. And then just tinkering around to see if I can't figure it out. I mean, that's one of the things that I've been criticized. There was another chat about A-framing. Yeah. And I've been accused of having one, especially on my left foot. But the ski and what I feel like I can do with the ski is just what I wanted to do. Yeah. So I don't care what it looks like.
I like that kind of outcome. Angelo, I know, likes that. You can see him smile. He loves that.
Well, I mean, we are a very body-centric organization, right? I mean, you're just blowing minds right now with that.
Yeah. You got to pay. I mean, I'm trying to coin a little bit of a phrase here, because I felt like it was so interesting. Ben Hogan used to say the answer's in the dirt, and I'm trying to say more and more, the answer's in the snow. That's where the answer comes from. It's you got to have a direction. You got to know what your outcome is. It should be ready, aim, fire, not ready, fire, aim. So you got to know what you're trying to accomplish. And then you just figuring out how to get the ski to do that, or get the ski to be in the places on, in bumps. I look at bumps as a extremely complex puzzle to solve. And most of the time people can't do what it is they're trying to do because they can't see where it is they want to go versus where they end up. And if you always end up in the same spots and you can't see that other line, there's no way that you're going to be able to put your skis there, let alone put your skis there and be able to listen to the conversation that's going on between your ski and the snow about how the ski is going to react, and then you be able to adjust accordingly. And there is no one answer. I mean, I went one way and now I'm going a different way. Some people like a setup of equipment that is biased towards one thing. I know I do. I have ski boots that are the lower half and the upper half are different stiffnesses. And stiffnesses. I mean, if we use the regular scale that's kind of accepted as a general idea, although it's not necessarily accurate, but it's a general idea. My upper cuff of my boot is 130, so it's a medium to soft flex, and the lower of my boot is the second stiffest that Nordica makes. It's about a 180. Wow. I mean, it's rock solid. It's hard to get in and out of, but I feel like I can still get the fore aft from the softer upper, but yet I get the side to side because I feel like I use my feet and ankles a lot. That was always drilled into me. I use my feet and ankles this way a lot, so I appreciate the transmission of information and energy. And I pay a little bit of the price off trail. I definitely pay a little bit of a price off trail, but I reap the benefits on trail. I mean, it's not, you're not going to get one ski quiver, one boot quiver. It's going to have some weaknesses, but that's a part of the fun, is that at least you know what your weakness is going to be and where you're going to struggle. And when you get to that situation, you go, I got to work a little bit harder here, and I can't expect it to be as simple or as easy or as forthcoming.
Yeah. Well, I have to say, Michael, I got to thank you for being with us tonight, and I'm hoping you'll come back because I know I could ask you questions forever, because I know there's a ton of knowledge in there, and all the people you mentioned that you've learned from, that it's great to hear their names, and a lot of them I've had the opportunity to ski with. But hopefully you'll come back, and thanks for being with us. And any parting messages there, Angelo?
I got like 30 questions here and you're ending it.
That's why I had to invite him back. It's like, my God. Yeah, we do have like 30 questions. I know.
Can't we just do another one? Keep going. Episode number 6.1.
There you go.
Let's give our crew a break and come back with part 2.
I love that idea.
Right. Yeah. Let's do it.
We might get something meaningful.
Yeah.
Maybe in part 3.
Some folks takes longer than others.
That's right.
Must be me.